It's a Farm Friday. Let's talk Cincinnati Reds.
You are Locked On MLB Prospects, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Yes, welcome on into Locked On MLB Prospects, your home for all things minor league baseball. I'm your host, Lindsey Crosby, baseball writer for Sports Illustrated. Thank you for making this your first listen every single day. And as we do every Friday here, we're taking a farm system, we're breaking it down. This one's the Cincinnati Reds. They need something to cheer about, and it's this farm system, top 10 system here. And we're going to start off at Single-A, specifically in Daytona Beach, Florida, the Daytona Tortugas, which, if you were curious, is a type of turtle. 60 and 60 last year. Currently 18 and 23 in 2022, which is already good for 9 games back. So Single-A is tough this year. But yeah, couple top prospects here to mention, and then one interesting guy that I want to get to in a sec. So number 7 overall pitcher Chase Petty is here. Righty, was a prep draftee, and he actually was traded from the Twins to Cincinnati in the Sonny Gray deal. He was the headline of the Sonny Gray deal. And it's really interesting because prep kid, right, hit 102 on his fastball in high school. Feels like you're not supposed to do that. So very, very good fastball. Very good slider to go along with it. Just like both of those things are very, very good pitches. They're working on the changeup. He didn't really use it a lot in high school. He didn't have to. His fastball was 102. But their scouts are a little divided about can he make the changeup into a plus pitch, or is he just going to be a fastball slider guy? So long-term prognosis, I don't necessarily think we knows a lot yet, simply because he's got consistency issues with the slot sticking where it is. And there's some times when the slot will drop, and when that happens, the slider kind of loses the two-plane life, and it just kind of gets one plane sweepy across the zone, and you can crush it. Fastball runs a little too much, and you can't throw it for strikes. So concerns there with some of the mechanics. And then the pitch selection. Obviously, he's got to figure out that third pitch, preferably the changeup. And then you just have to understand that this demographic is inherently risky. A hard-throwing high schooler, as they continue to grow into their body and put on size and continue to develop, are they going to be able to harness these things? We've seen a ton of hard-throwing high school righties who just have not worked out. So we'll see what happens with Chase Petty. Definitely electric stuff. These are probably 2 70-grade pitches. And again, if he can find that third one, you can find a way to make him into a starter and make him into a decent one. To go along with him, you've got number 8 overall prospect in the system, outfielder Jay Allen. So was actually, he was a quarterback as well as a baseball player. In high school, had options to go to college and play football. Hasn't necessarily had as much time to devote solidly to baseball up until getting drafted. Looked like he could hit for power and kind of hit for average. Something kind of go into all fields, but pulls a little more than you'd like. He can go to all fields, but pulls a little more. Good acceleration, good instincts, top end speed. Don't necessarily know if it ends up being plus or just above average. It's something where the Reds have him in center. I think he might end up as a left fielder. We'll see. So you just still kind of have to figure out what's going to happen. Ideal scenario, you've got a center fielder with plus power and a plus hit tool. I think the more common or more likely scenario is either the power doesn't develop or he'll end up in a corner. So that may still happen. Or obviously, whenever we talk about this and we talk about risk, I've covered this before, the most likely scenario on any player is they don't work out. But we're kind of talking about if he does work out, what are the scenarios there? Still has a shot to be like a big league regular, even if the power doesn't come or if he ends up having to move to a corner. So I like the tools there. And then a really interesting guy to me, doesn't get a lot of pub out of this system, but somebody who I'm going to be watching in Daytona with the Tortugas is Tyler Callihan, number 25 prospect in the system, second baseman. So 2019 third rounder. Really kind of interesting thing what happened. He was a very promising hitter in high school, had some defensive questions, lost 2020, played in just under 30 games in 21, had an elbow injury, ended up having Tommy John, was looking healthy, was ready to come in and contribute, and got in a car accident in spring training. So he's just now, he's had 18 at-bats as of Thursday afternoon. He's just now getting back into actually being able to play. He was a above average hitter, average power, more raw power than in-game power. Wasn't necessarily making it show up. So somebody's got to figure out still. They had him at second and at third in 2019. He's kind of focusing now at second. I think he might be like an offensive first kind of guy, so fringe to average defender, but offensively he's going to carry you. The arm was really good before the surgery. We need to see what it can do now. So just 3 seasons, less than 350 total plate appearances. You just need to see more from Tyler Callihan. And I'm just intrigued to see him get a chance to actually play full time without injury and see what he can do. So really interesting there. And I just wanted to make sure I touched on that real quick because I think it's interesting. The high A Dayton Dragons have a ton of talent, and you can kind of see that by the record. They're 65-55 last year, so they were tied for first. 27-12 right now, 4 games up on the rest of the division. And they've got a couple top 25 prospects. So the big one that everybody's talking about, number 4 prospect in the system, shortstop Elly de la Cruz, signed in 2019 for $65,000. Played in the Dominican Summer League in 2019, couldn't play again until 2021. He didn't go to the alternate site, wasn't part of instructional leagues. Went to the Arizona Complex League in 21, had 11 extra base hits in his first 11 games. So when you look at the scouting report, there's depending on who writes it, either 2 or 3 70s on the report. Plus runner, so the speed is there. Plus arm. Plus raw power. Very good as far as understanding the game of baseball, understanding where it works. He's 6'5", 195. He's been playing some short, been playing some third. I think he can stick it short. Defensively, he's good enough to stick it short. But with the absolute cannon that he has, you could put him at third. With his speed, you could put him at center. I mean, he can play any of those positions. I think the thing that you need to see from Elly de la Cruz, and ultimately what's going to decide what he is as a professional, is his hitting. So one of the most aggressive hitters I have seen in all of my time of watching baseball. He goes up to bat every single time with the full belief that he can hit any pitch that guy throws. And as he moves up in the system, he's going to get challenged by pitchers, and how he adjusts and how quickly he adjusts and how well he does once they figured out how to pitch to him is going to ultimately decide his ceiling for Cincinnati. I think if his approach improves and he does this work, I think you're looking at a player with all-star potential. I mean, I think if he's playing short, he's playing center, something like that, he's going to be probably a top 5 defender, top 5 defender at his position in baseball. Again, cannon for an arm, great speed and everything. It's just offensively, is he going to figure out the right approach as he faces tougher pitching? He's in high A right now, just short of 130 at-bats, 266, 319, 492, 6 home runs, 11 stolen bases. So great numbers. He needs to move up, not right this second, but he needs to move up and make that Double-A jump later in the year so we can kind of figure out and give him enough time in Double-A for him to figure out where he truly is. Don't give him a week in Double-A, because if he struggles in that week, he's the kind of player that's going to take that back, and that's going to affect him. Give him plenty of time in Double-A. Give him a month or something to figure out how does he compare to these pitchers and how can he adjust when they start pitching him differently. To go along with him, really kind of interesting, the logjam here. I'm not going to go into super deep detail on these 3 guys, but number 13, 15, and 20th prospects in this system. So Rece Hinds, Austin Hendrick, and Alan Cerda. That's your starting outfield. You've got 3 top 20 prospects in the outfield in Dayton. Part of the reason this team is 27-12, you've got some great talent there, and just something that I really hope that the Reds are able to figure out these guys and develop them correctly. This right here, this and then a couple guys ahead of them at Double-A, that's the core of the next Reds team. So you've got a couple years before they're ready, but these are the guys. And by the time they're up, you're going to have Jonathan India. It's going to be an arbitration. You're going to have, Jose Barrero is going to already be up. You're going to have that group. This is the core of that group right here. These 3 outfielders, Elly de la Cruz, and a couple of these guys that are in Chattanooga that I'm excited to tell you about. But first, today's episode is brought to you by our friends at Built Bar. We have been asking, we as in like the hosts and people who eat Built Bars, and Built has delivered. Built granola bars are here. 3 unbelievable flavors: chocolate peanut butter, chocolate coconut, and white chocolate berry. And if you want to try these, you can actually get a mixed box at Built.com right now. These are completely different from the puffs and the bars. These are not the protein bars covered in 100% real chocolate. Different concept here. These are Built granola bars full of granola and then covered in 100% real chocolate. Perfect combination of proteins, things that are good for you. 150 calories, 15 grams of protein, 4 grams of sugar. Perfect healthy snack to pack in your lunch, take on the road, or stash in your bag. So if you've been waiting for a healthy and delicious granola bar, because you can usually get a healthy one or a delicious one, you can't find both. You've been waiting for a healthy and delicious granola bar to hit the market. This is your time. Go to Built.com right now to get the Built granola bars in the mixed box: chocolate peanut butter, chocolate coconut, and white chocolate berry. Go to Built.com, use promo code LOCKED15 and get 15% off your order. That's promo code LOCKED15 at Built.com. Okay, so this Double-A team, the Chattanooga Lookouts, Chattanooga, Tennessee, 58-54 last year, finished 1 game back in the Southern League, but 22-19 right now. They're 2 games back on the season, and a couple top 10 prospects at this level. So a guy I've talked about on the show before, left-hand pitcher Brandon Williamson, 2019 second rounder out of TCU. Went to the alternate site, didn't debut until last year. Led the Mariners system with 153 strikeouts. It's part of the trade. So he's here now. 6'6" lefty, 6'6", 210. Big, just like lots of long levers, as we've talked about on the show before. He can get the fastball up to 97. It usually sits 94 or so. And what's great is with those really long levers, he gets a lot of deception on the fastball. So it's hard to pick it up right out of the hand. It's got a lot of late life on it. And then he has the extension. So it's 60 feet 6 inches from the plate to the mound, right? To the pitching rubber. But because he's so tall, because his arms are so long, he's releasing the ball closer to the plate than a lot of players do. His extension is really high. And so that combined with his delivery, that ball gets on you in a heartbeat. And so you have to be guarding for this powerful, fast pitch. And then right behind it, he's got one of those big arcing curveballs, one of those big, like, top to bottom, kind of late diving, mid-70s curveballs on you. He can drop it underneath a barrel. He can locate it really, really well. Like, lefty, righty, doesn't matter. And like it's almost a plus pitch with how well he can control it. And then to go along with that, you've got a change, which is above average to maybe above average, a slider that's average as well, but he can throw all these things for strikes. Matter of fact, he's so good at mixing these up. He threw 2 immaculate innings last year. So I think he's going to end up he's probably going to end up realistically being a number 3 or number 4. I think if he can get the changeup to go from average to above average, or maybe even plus, you might look at him as like a 2, but he's probably going to be a number 3 or number 4. Pitched 40 innings this year, 4-1, 43 strikeouts to 23 walks. So not controlling everything all of the time in Double-A, but doing well enough, and a guy that I'm really high on, really excited to watch. Going along with him, shortstop Matt McLain, 5'11", 180, actually was drafted twice. So was picked in 2018 by the Diamondbacks in the first round, did not sign, was drafted again after going to UCLA. So very good contact hitter. Relatively safe as far as he makes good contact. He's consistent at the plate. Doesn't have a ton of power. So like he can put a barrel on the ball most of the time. He's just not putting a lot of power behind it. And so he's a guy where solid big leaguer, probably not going to be an all-star, but absolutely can contribute. And in the situation they were in when they made that draft pick, it was something where they needed competency and they needed a high floor. And he gives you a high floor. Ceiling's lower, but the floor is high. So right now, 140 at-bats, 250, 346, 564, 10 home runs, 11 stolen bases. Defensively, he can play short. He can make all the plays. They don't look easy. He looks like he's laboring, like he's really trying, like he's kind of efforting through the fielding. I think his arm is above average. It's good enough to play short. I think that he could move to second possibly, especially with a guy like an Elly Cruz behind him or a Jose Barrero ahead of him. He could move to the outfield if he needed to. He could move to center field. Again, going to be a solid big leaguer, not going to be an all-star, but going to be a good player for you and going to be able to contribute at the big league level. If they're good enough where he ends up not starting for Cincinnati at the big league level, that's a good thing because that means Cincinnati has gotten some great talent up there. And then to go along with him, another guy there in Chattanooga is the number 9 prospect in the system, lefty Andrew Abbott. Again, love me lefty pitchers. But he's probably going to be either a number 5 starter or like a long man out of the bullpen. So spent 3 years at Virginia as a multi-inning back like late in the game, high leverage reliever, closer kind of type. Started in his final season, went 9-6 with a 2.87 ERA, got drafted. Doesn't have anything that's glaringly plus, but 3 above average pitches. So changeup, average, curveballs above average, fastballs above average, especially when he gets a little extra power behind it and he hits 96 or so with it. It's got good carry. I like the elevated fastball. I like this fastball up in the zone. I feel like it carries up there a bit and it can tie up a hitter, especially up and in. And the good thing is he's got really good control of it. So he can put it where he needs to stay competitive. He mixes those pitches together really well. It's really difficult to stick on any one specific thing. And then mental makeup wise, huge competitor. So really good at having the right mindset going into the game and attacking hitters and trying to establish dominance. A guy where, again, none of the tools he's another one of those higher floor, lower ceiling guys. None of the tools are amazing, but plus control, 3 above average pitches. He's going to be able to compete. He's going to be useful at the big league level. And if you have enough pitchers up there where you can't use him, then that's a good thing for Cincinnati because that means you've got plenty of talent up there. And in just a minute, I do want to discuss some of that talent that is in Louisville right now. But first, today's episode is brought to you by our friends at BetOnline. They continue to be the number 1 source for all your betting needs and your sports info. You can get the latest odds, news, and sports developments. This year's NBA playoffs. I'm not even sure who's in it, but it's there. Major League Baseball scores, fights. Next season's NFL futures. I saw they just put out college baseball conference tournament lines, and they're going to have NCAA tournament lines for college baseball soon. They're your continued source for all your sports wagering information from live betting, playoffs, esports, and more. So head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more about the trends in action, because BetOnline is where the game starts. All right, so Louisville. Tough year last year. They're in Louisville, Kentucky. They're called the Louisville Bats. They are named, before you ask, they are named for both the animal and the baseball bat. Like both things. It's a play on words because Louisville Slugger's there. So, okay. But there's caves around. Okay. So 51-68 last year, 17 and a half games back. Bit of a struggle last year. This year, similar boat, 15-28. They're already 15 games back. They've played 43 games and they're already 15 back of first place. Not their fault. Kind of their fault. So we've talked about this, right? Double-A is for player development. Triple-A is to help the big league team win. And Louisville has had not a ton of prospects, but they've had guys who are there to help the big league team win. They've had quad A guys, they've had veterans, things like that. They have not had all the top prospects. They have been trying to help the big league team win, and obviously not doing a very good job of that. So that is kind of why the record's the way it is. The core of the prospect potential is in high A and double A right now between Dayton and Chattanooga. Anyway, so Jose Barrero, it's time to have the Jose Barrero conversation. So he is in Louisville right now. He has played 5 whole games, 294, 333, 529, 1 home run, no stolen bases. So Jose Barrero, international free agent out of Cuba. And he played a little bit of second base and center field, but he's a shortstop by trade. Above average power, average to above average hitting. He can crush a fastball. Wrong time to be a fastball hitter because we've just seen all the stats about how fastballs are thrown by some organizations now less than 50% of the time. His success in the major leagues is going to come down to, can he learn to not chase a slider out of the zone? That's it. In 2020, they got him on that. They got him a lot. The book is out. He spent 21 games in Cincinnati in 2021, batted 200, 286, 320, no home runs, struck out 17 times to 3 walks. And it was, let's get him to chase a slider. So he did a better job last year at that, but he needs to improve even from the better job. Especially if it's a good one, low in the zone, low and away, he's going to go after it. And what's frustrating is like when he gets on base, plus runner doesn't steal a ton, but is pretty effective when he decides to, if that makes sense. Like he doesn't get caught a lot. He can pick his moments pretty well. Defensively, plus arm, above average defender, good body control. He can play a good shortstop. He's really good. His weakness at shortstop is making plays to his right, like deep in the hole. He's good charging a ball. He's good going to his left, doing like a bare hand scoop and throw to first on a slow roller. All of those things he's great at. The only weakness he has is going to third. So if you get a good solid third baseman next to him, like maybe an Elly de la Cruz, you're fine. But all of this is going to come down to offensively, what can he do? The Reds have a second baseman in Jonathan India. You're not moving him. So he's got to be able, he's going to play short. Kyle Farmer had a good year last year. So you've got some time to kind of take Jose Barrero and figure out what he's going to do. Figure out where he's going to go offensively. Is he going to be a first division regular because of his good defense and his good enough power? Or is he going to be kind of a defensive specialist utility guy because he can't consistently hit for you? He's going to have plenty of time in AAA to figure that out. A guy who, unfortunately, is also having time in AAA and probably, it could be argued, should not be. Graham Ashcraft, righty, 6'2", 220 out of UAB, 2019 guy, 6th rounder. I've heard he's been in the news recently. You may or may not have heard. But yeah, so it's been called up, got sent back down, had a lot of injuries in college. Kind of didn't have a great debut in 2019, lost 2020, and then 2021 was the hottest pitcher in the minor league baseball for the first half of the season. He had a stretch of 43 innings where the only run allowed scored because of a catcher's interference. Just complete dominance. And it was dominant because it is just max effort all of the time. He's got a 65 grade fastball. He's got a plus slider, above average cutter. He's hitting mid 90s, 95, 96. You might know that you got a hard fastball coming in and you still can't hit it when it's working. But when it's not working, when he's not hitting the spots, you can just sit back and wait for him to throw a get me over strike and you can crush it. So the good thing is when he's working, he can just throw to the strike zone and let the fastball move on its own. Let the cutter move on its own. Let the slider move on its own. Never going to have amazing control, but it's going to be good enough where he can be like, if you need a strike, I can give you a strike. I love the quote Baseball America put in his write-up about his changeup. They said, his changeup is more of a concept than an actual pitch right now. Because inherently, what is a changeup? It's I'm going to take something off of this pitch. And my guy does not do taking something off of the pitch. It is all gas, all the time. Max effort. So changeup's a concept. He's got a curveball. He really shouldn't. It's not good. If he was a reliever, he'd be in Cincinnati right now, and it would be fine. He would be in the bullpen. He'd be in the back half of the bullpen. But he needs to be more durable. He needs to be more consistent with his control. And he's got to develop some of these secondary pitches. He's got to figure out either a changeup or a curveball. I still can't get over the quote. More of a concept than an actual pitch. He's got to figure out what is he doing when it comes to something that's not the heater. What is the approach here? And then he's got to stay healthy. He was injured. I mean, in college, he hurt his hips. Just all kinds of weird stuff. So, he's got to stay healthy. I think he can be really good. He's just got to do this stuff. So, I hate that he's in AAA, but it's fine. They're choosing to let him learn there versus learning at the big league level and running the service time clock. Can't say that I agree with it, but I understand it. Guys who are learning in MLB and using the service time clock, Nick Lodolo and Hunter Geene. So Nick Lodolo, the lefty, Hunter Geene, the righty. And boy, Hunter Geene is confusing to me at times. So Hunter Geene in spring training touched 105 miles an hour. He hit 104 this season. He had 3 different starts where his average fastball velocity was 100 miles an hour. Okay. Incredibly hard thrower. I'm going to read you his stats in 8 games. 39 in the 3rd innings. 36 hits. 25 runs. 24 earned. 12 home runs allowed. 22 walks to 50 strikeouts. 1-6 record. 5.49 ERA. Whip of 1.47. So he can throw the ball really hard, but guys can hit the ball really hard. And people this is a guy that if you don't watch him, you don't understand why they're able to do so much against them. You're like, he's throwing 103. How are they doing this? Well, he's throwing 103, but that ball is dead straight and does not move. It is just straight. He throws the fastball up in the zone. It doesn't have any trail. It doesn't have any cut to it. It's just a straight line. And even if it's 103, if you know it's going to be right there, you can hit it. 9 of the 11 home runs that he gave up in AAA last year came off the fastball. Like, and then he can't throw the slider for a strike. Like, he can't consistently land the slider for a strike. So you can sit fastball, tell it's a slider out of the hand, because he also doesn't have the deception, which we still can't really figure out how to give guys deception on pitches. He doesn't really have it, though. And so you can just sit fastball. If you see a slider out of the hand, let it go. It's probably not going to be in the zone. Now, if you're a lefty, careful. He does have a pretty decent changeup. He doesn't believe in it, but he has a pretty decent changeup, and he's going to get you to chase it. But he can't throw the slider for a strike when he needs to, and the fastball is just dead straight and doesn't move. And so, I mean, at this point, I don't know what you do other than let him continue to try to figure it out, because what's he going to do? Lose the division for you? At a certain point in time, there is the possibility of moving him to relief, and he would be the hardest throwing closer in baseball, harder than Chapman and everybody else. But it's just straight. It doesn't move at all. I mean, what he probably needs to do is he needs to do something. He needs to do some of the pitch grip. He needs to call up Rod Friedman. He needs to call up Pitching Ninja and be like, dude, can you teach me this cut fastball grip? Or can you teach me something? Because this is not working. He's got to figure out something, because that ball, no deception, it comes out of his hand and goes straight to the plate with no deviation. And that's the issue. I think he's going to be good. He's got to figure that out. So, what a great week, you guys. Lots of great shows this week. Lots of great shows coming up next week. If you have questions for the show, I'm on Twitter at Crosby Baseball. The show's on Twitter at LockedOnFarm, or you can email us, lockedonmlbprospects@gmail.com. Have a great holiday weekend. We will see you on Monday right here on Locked On MLB Prospects.